Game-changing trades coming to the NBA this offseason. As every offseason in the NBA, the 2020 offseason has the potential of completely shaking up the entire league. Think back to the signing of LeBron James to the Miami Heat, Kevin Durant to the Warriors, or more recently, Kawhi Leonard signing to the Clippers, to form teams that would become juggernauts for years to come. While the free agency class this season is looking a little weaker compared to those of years past, this offseason still has the chance to change the league as we know it. This can be done through trades. In last year's offseason, we saw two blockbuster deals that sent Anthony Davis from the New Orleans Pelicans to the Los Angeles Lakers for their young core, along with Paul George being traded from the Oklahoma City Thunder to the Los Angeles Clippers for a massive haul. Today, we will be covering some of the massive trades that could possibly occur in the 2020 offseason. While it will be impossible to try to predict the exact destination to where these players will be traded, we will in most cases be covering certain players who are currently finding themselves on the trading block, and looking at the type of team or certain destinations that this player would be the best fit to be traded to. Bradley Beal to a contender. Bradley Beal is one of the most highly sought-after players who could possibly be traded this offseason. Currently, the Brooklyn Nets are the front-runners in the Bradley Beal sweepstakes. However, many other contenders have put their name in the race too. These teams include the Lakers, the Heat, the Pelicans, and the Nuggets, just to name a few. It makes sense as to why so many teams want to add Beal to their roster. He is a scoring machine and has put together by far the best statistical season of his career. In the 2019-2020 season, he is currently averaging 30.5 points per game, while shooting 45.5% from the field and 35.3% from three. These numbers are incredible, especially the shooting percentages, considering the number of shots and offensive burden that has been placed on the back of Beal for this entire season. With John Wall being sidelined for the entire season with an injury, it has been on Beal to do his best to carry an otherwise awful Washington Wizards team. While this has caused his defensive game and steal and block numbers to slip this season, his offensive improvements have far outweighed his setback on defense. While Beal may be the most sought-after player in terms of trades this offseason, he may also be one of the most difficult to acquire. The Washington Wizards front office recently stated that there will be no Bradley Beal sweepstakes, and he is not on the table to be traded. We have seen time and time again in the NBA, however, that if a player wants to be out of a certain situation or off a certain team, they can get their way fairly easily. And if Beal wants to be off a Washington Wizards team that is currently struggling to stay afloat, despite him putting up career numbers night after night, then he will be traded sooner rather than later. However, for the team that wants to add Beal to their roster, it will cost them a pretty penny. The team, no matter the circumstances, will not give up a 30-point-per-game scorer, and widely believed to be the franchise's best player away for just nickels and dimes. It will take a major hit to the depth of whichever team makes the decision and pulls the trigger on trading for Bradley Beal. However, in return, they will be getting one of the best scorers in the league, along with a very solid perimeter defender when he does not have to focus on carrying an entire team's offense by himself. Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, out of Philly. The next entry on the list is actually two players that happen to be from the same team. It's unlikely that both of them will be traded, but due to an apparent lack of chemistry between the two, along with their clashing playstyles, it is almost certain that one of the two young stars will be traded. Those players are Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. While they are two of the players who will lead the NBA into the next generation of star players, it is made clear that year after year, having Simmons and Embiid being co-stars on the Philadelphia 76ers will never work. Simmons seemingly refuses to work on or at least attempt to come out of his shell and take outside shots in an actual regular season game. This allows defenses to completely ignore Simmons if he is standing on the perimeter, and instead seg off of him and further clog up the paint. This inhibits Embiid from playing the game at his full potential, because when he is on a hot streak, he is arguably the best big man in the entire league. Being able to dominate and control the paint without being swarmed by other defenders or facing countless double teams, his game suffers greatly. Also, it seems as if there are chemistry issues between the two players. Embiid is one of the most outspoken guys in the league, and recently he was seen being very buddy-buddy with Miami Heat star and former 76er Jimmy Butler. In the exchange between the two, subliminal shots were thrown at many who believe is Ben Simmons. This exchange has also led to rumors swirling around that Joel Embiid will be traded to join Jimmy Butler on the Miami Heat if the 76ers do not make a deep enough playoff run this year. This trade would be a better fit for both parties involved, depending on who the Heat give up. However, in Miami's system, which is very grit and grind combined with the defensive mindsets of Embiid and Butler, it could be a very scary pairing if the Heat pull off the trade without giving up too much in return. When looking at the 76ers from Ben Simmons' point of view, you can see that maybe Embiid is the problem in Philly. He is one of the loudest mouths in the entire league on social media, yet when he goes against some of his toughest matchups in the regular season, he often has very quiet games. Coming into the league, it was known that Simmons could not shoot, and while it is taking him much longer than expected to open up that aspect of his game, he is making strides to improve on it. You can see him in pre-game shoot-arounds, cashing 3 after 3. It is just not yet translated to an actual game. Also, Simmons is a 6', 11-inch point guard, who is one of the best passers in the league. It would be stupid for him not to want to drive to the hole every time he touches the ball and pass to an open teammate or score on a smaller defender. This is where Embiid inhibits Simmons from playing at his full potential. To get Simmons to unlock his full game, you must have a very particular roster set around him. The big man cannot be post-dominant like Embiid, or Simmons will have a tougher time scoring at the basket or getting the ball past a 7-foot defender. He needs players who can space the floor, like what the Milwaukee Bucks did for Giannis Antetokounmpo this season. However, this could be too much work for the 76ers, and it could be easier to just trade Simmons and build around Embiid. If they were to trade Simmons, they would likely want a young pass-first point guard that can shoot, or in general, someone that can space the floor and let Embiid dominate in the paint. Some possible players that would fit this mold along with the right age to fit on Joel Embiid's career timeline would be D'Angelo Russell, Devin Booker, and if they can make the trade happen for him, Trae Young. Zach LaVine to the Lakers. The next player on this list was talked about in a possible trade to this team at the trade deadline, and that was Zach LaVine to the Lakers. This season, LaVine was a bright spot in an otherwise dumpster fire of a Chicago Bulls team. Some may say that LaVine's spike in offensive numbers was a result of empty stats from playing on a bad team that was not playing for much, and did not result in many wins. However, LaVine could be a perfect fit for an already loaded Lakers team. He is still a young player, which will carry on the championship window that the Lakers have, possibly even into a post-LeBron James era. LaVine is a hyper-athletic player and a great shooter. The area that he struggles in and could lead to some concern from the Lakers front office is his defensive ability. While he is athletically inclined enough to be an elite defender, he has yet to show any interest in playing defense, or the effort that it requires to be a consistently good defender. This could also be explained away by him being on a team that is rarely in contention for anything serious like a playoff run. So much of the regular season for LaVine consists of meaningless games. Another reason as to why LaVine has lacked as a defender, despite having the tools to be solid on the defensive side of the ball, is that he has such a load on his shoulders trying to carry the Bulls offensively this season. It is almost certain that a team with LeBron at the helm would not allow a young player to slack off or be lazy at any time on the court. The media pressure that comes with being on a team with LeBron, along with the veteran leadership, will certainly be more than enough to set LaVine straight on defense, and could possibly make him the third option on the Lakers that the team was hoping they would be getting from Kyle Kuzma. With LaVine wanting out of Chicago, along with the questions about him as a player, the Lakers would not have to give a ridiculous amount to trade for him. A package of maybe Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green would be more than enough to get the job done, and get the Lakers an elite offensive player that still has a great deal of potential. Chris Paul. The final player on the list is a certain Hall of Famer, and possibly one of the best pure point guards to ever play the game. That is Chris Paul. While it is uncertain if Paul will be traded because of his age and enormous contract, there will certainly be some interest in him, especially after the career revitalizing year he just had with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Another reason that a Chris Paul trade deal may not be done is that he has had such a surprisingly good season with the Thunder that they may want to keep him around for another playoff run next year, and have him be a mentor to their younger players. However, Paul just does not fit the timeline of the Thunder. While it is true that he could continue to be the best player on their team, and they continue to be a low playoff seed year after year, I believe that is not a result that either side wants. Paul will certainly want to win an NBA championship before he retires, and with all the draft picks the Thunder have in the upcoming years, they will want to get into the rebuilding phase to get the most out of those draft picks, and get Paul's contract off their books so they can sign younger free agents. If a contender can make the cap space to fit into Paul's contract, then there is a good chance that he is traded there, but if not, an interesting spot that he could be traded is the New York Knicks. It would be a terrible move for the Knicks, as they need to do something to acquire young stars, or finally land the superstar free agent they have promised their fans year after year, ever since Carmelo Anthony left the team. However, it would fit right in with the moves they have made in the past decade to trade for the older star on a huge contract just so they can sell tickets. If that is the case and what ends up happening, we can only pray for Chris Paul that his agent somehow finds a way to get the team to agree to buy him out of his contract so he can sign somewhere with the team that gives him at least a chance to win a ring before he retires. Final thoughts. While the free agent class of 2020 does not look to be as promising as it has in years past, that does in no way mean that 2020 will be a quiet offseason, and there are certainly going to be some trades that can possibly flip the league on its head, and even set up future dynasties that we will be watching for years to come. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to UpNext Sports for more basketball content like this.